Hello, and welcome to another week of the Sparring Partners podcast. My name is Coby McKinley, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Brad Jones.
Yo, 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 what up, good people of the world?
And also, as always, we are brought to you in collaboration with FightFreaks.co. I almost went back to the old name again after like 5 episodes straight of nailing it. Quite frankly, I almost messed it all up. My streak lives on, and we're here for another show. We took the week off. Your boy had finals, and I just couldn't do it. So we're here this week. We're ready to go. We're finals free.
Mm-hmm.
Brad, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I actually am still final full because my finals come up this coming week, but it's all good. It's all good in this hood. And there is. So we got lots of fights to talk about. We got many cards to recap, including one that just wrapped up. So I'm excited. We about to get after it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go ahead and start with what is most current, as in it just ended. PFL 2021 number 3 regular season. I'm loving the naming conventions of these events. They're a mouthful, and they are they're created in a lab to be totally just streamlined. But the main event was Fabricio Verdum taking on a man who I'm not sure, Henan Feria, right? Is that
something
how they
like
pronounce
it? Yeah. He was also making his PFL debut.
Ferreira.
Two participants in the main event, both making their debuts in the PFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and a weird thing is that Ferreira played Verdum in a Verdum biopic.
Mm-hmm. Very odd.
Super weird, and so he gets the victory, and the MMA world is not entirely convinced, and they're taken up a little bit for old man Verdum. Brad, what's your take on it?
Yes, it does appear as if our old 43-year-old friend Fabricio Verdum has been the victim of a classic Brazilian tap, which, if anyone is unfamiliar with the term, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there is a general unspoken, thing that when you tap, it's a 3-tap, right? It's pop, pop, pop. It's 3 taps.
3 of them.
Generally, that's where you get your tap, right? So a Brazilian tap, which was actually made very famous by Anderson Silva and the first Chael Sonnen fight as well, is you're in a submission, right? Things aren't going very well for you. Maybe on the side that the ref isn't on, but the guy can feel it. Maybe you just do one tap, or in this instance, with Verdum, maybe 1.5 to even 2 taps.
It looked like 2 to me.
It looked like 2 taps. Dangerously close, but still, man, led to a whole lot of controversy. I will absolutely say that Verdum was screwed here. Verdum was certainly screwed. I'm not comfortable with the other guy getting the TKO win, but I'm honestly not sure what should happen here. Should it just be a no contest? I feel like you can't just say, well, okay, Verdum gets a submission win then, right? I feel like you can't do that either. I think we're just kind of screwed in this situation, and you just say, well, maybe it's a no contest. Maybe we just say this didn't happen. What do you think?
I don't know. Did he get a quick 6 or a Fab 5? Or what points did he get? They have nicknames
6.
for all of them. He got a quick 6.
After this fight, the
rankings number 1.
The rankings had him at number 2 and Verdum at number 7. So this was a very consequential fight.
That million is looking a little bit further away for Verdum.
Very far away, because as I'm rather new to this, watching this PFL thing, I'm just getting into this formula of the cards being focused solely around 2 weight classes, which is very strange. It was nonstop heavyweights and large women, 155 women,
women lightweight,
back to back. And I was like, man, this is something else. But that guy that was in number 1, he was actually the main event of the prelims, and he got a very savage knockout in like 40 seconds. So it was like, man, the bar was already set so high. Verdun was going to have a rough time, but man, they both ran out at each other immediately, went for double flying knees, right? Like idiots. And so they just clash into each other and fall onto the ground. And Verdun immediately is just like wrestling the hell out of the guy, going for the submission, gets it, it is locked, but then eats a billion hammer fists. And even at the end, I mean, Keith Peterson, really, come on, my guy. Just even after the phantom tap thing, Verdun, after like 30 more seconds go by, he holds he holds it, and then he lets it go, and
it was so brutal.
And he's just brutal. Like done. And then Keith Peterson just
no.
And homie just pounds him. And I'm
bro,
like,
he looked
God.
When he was trying to, it was grotesque. Like, it was really bad when he went. So Verdun turtles up, and then he goes to roll over to his back to guard. It looked like his head was gonna fold underneath his body, dude. It looked so bad. Like I wasn't sure if he was knocked out then.
Yeah.
And then he like kind of rolls more. His head comes back right the way around, and then he just gets hammer fisted to hell. I really, yeah, man. It's one of those things where it's just like you got 2 things that you wanted in one contest, or I guess one thing you wanted, one thing you didn't want. It's like this is kind of a heartbreaker because Verdun proved he can pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
yeah.
But then we saw the exact reason why we didn't want to see a 43-year-old Fabrizio Verdun step in the cage again. Yeah. Which is just like, and that's the most heartbreaking thing of all to me, is that like this was a stolen win, but it also showed that he's just not nearly as durable as he used to be. I think a lot of people forget how much his game used to rely on durability, ability to take the shot. When he just like woke up one day and we were like, oh my God, Fabrizio Verdun can beat people up in the clinch now.
Yep.
That relied on being able to take punches on the inside, which are like some of the hardest punches you can take. So, yeah, I mean, he'll be back. He's a multi-fight fighter. They have the regular season left. After that performance, where do you land? Are you more the optimist or the pessimist? Because seeing him, go ahead.
For Verdun?
Yeah.
Pessimist, because I'm looking at those guys towards the top of what PFL has over there are like young, explosive.
Yeah.
It just, man, honestly, when I'm looking across PFL, all of the former UFC guys, I'm like, you guys are about to have a rough go of it. Like Verdun, Pettis, Rory did great. He really did good, but I will say he had a favorable style matchup that allowed him to just go straight to the ground and work his ground game. I am still very much concerned about if Rory has to fight someone on the feet, a very excellent striker. I would be very concerned for him. But yeah, our former guys are kind of having a rough go of it over there. I think they might continue to, but PFL is putting out a decent product. I like it.
Yeah.
I love Evan, Kenny Florian on the call. They were making some interesting, kind of strange choices tonight. Like, for instance, they interviewed Verdun for like 10 full minutes, and he rambled on about the tap and blah, blah, blah. And then they never interviewed the winner. And then they cut to just them talking about like, yeah, that was weird and it's probably the wrong decision. And then they just closed the show, and they never talked to the actual winner of the fight. So kind of weird, but whatever.
Oh
It's PFL,
no.
you know, it's cool. Whatever. Moving on.
Well, also on the card we had, we had Kayla Harrison,
Yep,
former champion. Is she former two-time champion?
I believe so. Yes.
Um, taking out Mariana Moraes. And it's kind of the frustration for someone like Kayla Harrison. She's almost in a similar spot that like a Strike Force era. Well, just Cyborg in general. Until like literally, two women have proven to be super formidable at 145 pounds. You know what I mean? So it's she's in a similar spot to them, only worse so. She's at 155 pounds.
Yes, there's one.
Um,
It's her.
it's
That's it.
just her and a bunch of women that may weigh the same as her, but they're not Kayla Harrison type
No,
athletes.
not nearly.
Like the Mariana Moraes fell to 16 wins, 11 losses in this fight. And that's unfortunately the type of talent Kayla Harrison has to work with. There are some women who won down the card, and if we're just going by record, there's a couple that could pose a threat of some kind. Larissa Pacheco, sorry, is 14-4. That's a winning record, more than 4 fights. So that's an interesting fight, maybe. It's just tough. It's a tough spot for her.
Yeah, it's not her fault, but I just can't get interested or invested in Kayla Harrison. Can't get invested in Cyborg either. It's not their fault. It's just there is no formidable competition for them. So as far as I'm concerned, PFL is just like totally cool with handing Kayla Harrison $1 million check every year. So whatever, fine.
Listen, Kayla, just need you to work for your money.
Seriously, it's what it seems like to me. So I was like, that was all just kind of run of the mill to me. I mean, just go in there, blast some poor girl down to the ground and pound her out. And then
It really was, though. It really was.
She cut a nice promo at the end and dropped the mic and walked off. But it rings so hollow because it's like, yeah, you are like the queen. Like none of these girls are on your level, of course. Yeah, sure, you're right.
They're definitely not on your level. We all agree.
Like, okay, yeah.
You really could just get you could have all the other women fight in the PFL, and you get a bye to the championship win, and no one would be like, well, I mean, she's going to get there anyway, right? I mean,
it's just how it is. And so,
yeah,
so that was fine. It just doesn't do much for me. But big old brother Oos.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Man, that boy got a dump truck on him, and he was out there throwing bombs, son.
Yeah.
He got dropped hard, so hard.
That was bad. It was bad. He hit the mat really hard, and frankly, survived that he survived.
Keith Peterson again.
I know, man.
Slaughter. Like, what are you doing out there?
He's just thinking about what he's going to do after work. All right, that's what he's doing. Okay,
that carton of cigarettes, man.
Yeah, he needs that carton. He needs that fifth,
dude. But yeah, brutal. But it was a very, very entertaining fight. I liked it very much. Those guys slugged it out. Big brother Oos put on a very good performance. For me personally, that was my first time ever seeing a fight. I know this was like kind of his showcase coming out performance to the larger MMA community. So probably, not what he wanted, but he honestly did deliver like a slug of a fight. And he could fit into that kind of like Greg Hardy role, where it's like he's just a big guy that, throws heavy and has entertaining fights. And like you can go pretty far as one of those, even in PFL. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, good ups on him.
Yeah. I was thinking about something kind of a little bit ironic about circling back to Kayla Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
She probably won't get popular until she loses once.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Because
the
there's
only
some
way
intrigue.
she breaks through is they find one woman on the planet that weighs in the same as her that can possibly beat her.
At least challenge her. Put her in a
At least
very
challenge her.
competitive
It's like a Misha
fight.
Tate Ronda Rousey thing, where
Yes,
it's
yes,
like Tate got finished every fight,
yes,
but
but she made it.
she just
Yeah,
got finished later than
yes,
anyone else.
yes. You're correct. So, okay, we haven't discussed this beforehand. Do you want to discuss the other large mess of news that unfolded today outside of the MMA community? Do you even want to get into this?
Oh, he got his hat. He got his hat, man. I mean, he did.
Here's all I'll say.
He
I
did.
just
You can't
kind of
even deny it.
breaking the fourth wall a little bit. I just kind of went over this situation and rewatched through all the video with my roommate to show it to him who hadn't seen the unfoldings for today. So quickly, we'll shoot through a recap. We won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but it's worth discussing. It's the talk of the world today. So today, obviously coming up in a few weeks, we have the older Paul, Logan Paul, not the younger troll Paul, but the older, more mature Paul, Logan, is going to box Floyd Mayweather. So they're going to fight in Texas in a big arena. So today they head down to Texas to do a press conference and a face-off for their upcoming fight. They do the press conference. It's strange and awkward. It's the two of them both standing on a stage. There's no one around them. They're up there like stand-up comedians. They're cutting jokes. They're both horrible at promotion. Logan's just like saying dumb YouTube shit, and Floyd Mayweather's talking about how rich he is and how much money he has. Okay,
Yeah.
very
Where
dumb.
do I sign up? Where are you selling tickets to this?
It's exactly what you expected. So that goes
yeah.
off without a hitch because Logan is a sensible person. So then they do the face off once again. They get up in each other's face. They mouth off a little bit. Everything, really, in all honesty, nothing to see here, right? Not really much to see. Everybody played by the rules, did what they were supposed to do. But then,
Baby brother on the case.
Younger baby brother troll, King Troll Paul decides, you know what? I'm going to get in here and rack up another 2 million pay-per-view buys for you guys. So he gets up in the mix, hops in and declares that Floyd Mayweather, you should be fighting me. I'm the one that you should be fighting. And then Floyd's like, line them up. I'll fight you both in the same night. So then Jake goes, meh, 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 I got your hat. And then runs off like a young boy. And then a large brawl unfolds. And there's been much talk. Is this a work or a shoot? In all honesty, I've floated back and forth throughout the day. And now watching more extensive footage, there are some real anger and some real punches being thrown in this. And this is for people who haven't seen it, which there's no way the 10 people of you that are going to watch this have not seen it. There's like 50 people there from each gang.
Oh, it's an honor rush. It's like a clash of.
It's like a large beef warfare kind of thing, right?
No, but it's not. It's not. It is.
It's not really. It's this sell tickets and it works. I mean, Jake Paul then immediately went and got a tattoo of the hat and says, I got your hat tattooed on his body. And now he's out there blasting all over social media. And you got everyone riled up. You got Connor putting out multiple paragraph responses on Instagram to this. I mean, it's all nonsense. But I must say, I have to admit it, young baby troll Paul, he works. Okay, I'm not going to say he's good at what he does. He is. He's very good at being this like troll thing that like gets everybody fired up, like MMA guys, boxing guys. He gets everyone really fired up, but it works. It brings them money. It works. So, man, what you think about all this? How excited are you to watch 190-pound Logan Paul fight 140-pound Floyd Mayweather?
Well, I am not excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing where like the Jake Paul thing is devoid of the whole thing is just devoid of any real meaning. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
everything
I don't learn anything by this fight. I'm not going to learn like I'm just not going to learn. I'm just going to be
no learning.
fed. Yeah, it's not learning. I don't know how else to say it, but it's just like when we watch the sport, the pinnacle of the sport, we are learning things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The do's, the don'ts, new things that are coming in, new evolutions, new floors at which prospects need to operate before they can even be considered elite, the bare minimum requirements. This is just like, can big guy beat up more skill small guy? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's pre-order our pay-per-views and it gets canceled. Did anyone get a refund? Did anyone get a refund for those pre-orders? The pay-per-view pre-orders?
Oh yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
It's a question I do not have the answer to, and I'm not sure anyone else does either. But
this fight their fight is not associated with Triller either, is it?
No, it's not. It's associated with Showtime.
It's through Mayweather
and Showtime.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So do you think this event will be less of a freak showy kind of thing, or do you think they'll lean in towards the Triller thing and have musical performances?
Bro, Ocho Cinco is fighting on the undercard, and it's Logan Paul.
I thought that was on the Triller card. I thought that was on the undercard of Lamar Odom versus Aaron Carter.
Oh, is it?
I don't know.
Dude, they're out of control. They're out of control.
Outrageous.
Why are we? We're just like it's like we're having to remember UFC bookings for these terrible celebrity. Okay.
Bum fight, celebrity.
Oh God, you just blew my mind with Aaron Carter versus
Lamar
Odom.
The ghost of OP Lamar Odom.
Oh no,
dude,
bro, it sucks.
That's the world we live in
when
right
you
now.
Need the money, but you do it for charity. That's the yeah. Well, you know what? It is a total freak show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, of course, they're building towards. Floyd wants to make more money.
Yeah.
So this hat thing, win, lose, or draw. Okay, it's not win, lose, or draw. He will win against Logan Paul. Then Jake Paul is going to do something. He's going to get in the ring or whatever. I don't know. He will. He'll get in the ring.
Controversy, yep.
He's going to be wearing something with fur on it and big glasses of some kind. And he's going to get in Floyd's face, and we got ourselves a brother fight. Yep. And, maybe. It's going to be a freak show. Mm-hmm. So Brad, actually, that kind of reminds me. They put up that website for amnesty. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God. Triller said, they're like, hey, listen, we want the big fish. We want the small fries for stealing our last pay-per-view. So they're like, everyone who watched it, we know who you are. And we're suing every one of you motherfuckers $100 million. Right?
Yeah.
So they put up a website. Triller did. This is like the Dana White bluff times a billion. They tell everyone that they tracked everyone, regardless of VPN. Okay. They specified regardless of VPN, and they're going to prosecute everyone. Now that's what they're inferring, right? They're gonna prosecute everybody. Yeah. So they put up a website where you can go ahead. They're like, listen, we're extending an olive branch. We will allow you to come to this website and pay us $50 for the pay-per-view you pirated 2 weeks ago, and you have till the end of the month. And then after that, 100 million lawsuits are aware. Bro, it's so nonsense.
Would you all like
I
to
wonder
throw
how
away money after the fact?
I wonder how
Oh
much
my
I wonder
god,
how much just like dolt money they got so far.
dude.
Just total idiots.
This makes me question how many people you think legitimately paid
I
money
mean,
for it?
listen. Well, I mean, listen.
Obviously not
Had
that
it,
many.
I mean, listen. Had I pirated it, I definitely would go back and definitely go to that website and square up with the
Of course.
Pauls.
It's the only
But
logical thing to do.
well, yeah, of course, you stole it. You gotta
It's the
pay it
world,
back.
man.
It's the
Moral
Pauls.
world.
Yeah. Where's this world coming to if I can't pay back the Pauls? So, let's talk about Bellator, Brad.
There we go.
So Bellator is tomorrow. Actually, in 26 or in 34 minutes, it will be later today. And in the main event, Juan Archuleta, the bantamweight champion, fights the younger Pettis, Sergio Pettis. Brad, could you tell me Sergio Pettis's nickname?
No.
Do you have a guess? Because I had no idea he had one, and he does. What is it?
I've never heard it before.
The Phenom.
Never in my life have I ever heard anyone call him that.
I,
Ever.
you know what? I also have never heard that before. That's why it caught me so off guard when I was writing the preview today. I was like,
He may have
the
just added that for this fight because
the
they've never
Phenom.
called him that before ever.
I just always called him Sergio.
Yeah.
Um, Now, to be fair, could you tell me the nickname of Juan Archuleta?
I'll go even fairer and tell you I don't know a goddamn thing about Juan Archuleta, and I've never watched a single one of his fights before.
Oh shit! All right, well, Brad, I will
Couldn't
get
tell
you.
you.
I
I
will
couldn't tell
get
you if he
you
was a
ready.
defending champ or not.
He is definitely a defending champ. He actually had an interesting road to the title where he fought as a featherweight, all the way up until his first title bout in Bellator against Pitbull, the featherweight Pitbull. He then won a comeback fight after losing that title bid, and then after he beat Henry Corrales at featherweight, he dropped down and fought Patchy Mix for the vacant bantamweight title. This is after
Horiguchi.
Kyoji Horiguchi. Uh, you know, he did. Yeah, I see in the chat someone mentioning he held multiple. He did. He held four in King of the Cage. They had a catchweight 165. He won lightweight, bantamweight, and featherweight, I believe, in King of the Cage. But yeah, man, it's going to be a really competitive fight. Juan Archuleta has a wrestling base. He's worked with Ludwig and Dillashaw and Swanson for a while. He actually helped them with weight cuts and stuff like that as well. And yeah, man, he has some really solid footwork and some really great striking ability. That's probably his most improved aspect of his game. But he's a wrestling base, so he slowly incorporated some of this bang Muay Thai style foot movement and the combinations and kicks and stuff. And he's been really good as of late. And then, of course, we both know Sergio Pettis. Started out as a young buck. I mean, I remember. I don't know if you remember this. The MMA subreddit. Somebody posted a video when Sergio made his like amateur debut or something. Like people have been watching him since he was very, very young because of what his brother did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people get stuck with this old idea of who Sergio is.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, Sergio Pettis is a legit MMA veteran that has everything going on that you need for a mixed martial artist to be successful.
Yeah, I'd argue that he is the more successful Pettis at this point in their careers.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's currently the more competitive.
Yeah, he's fighting for a belt.
Yeah, he's 27. He's 27.
Wow, he's still 27?
Yes.
What?
He has been a mixed martial artist for a decade. He is 27 years old.
Dude, I cannot believe he's still that young. Like, we've been watching him in the UFC for years. We watched him beat up what's his name? Benavidez in Chicago like 4 years ago. And that was like halfway through his UFC run.
Yep.
That's so wild.
Yeah, he's one of the rare dudes. This is why I'm so intrigued by this matchup, right? He's one of the rare dudes to leave the UFC on a win. He left the UFC with a winning record.
Yeah. Hey, Anthony Pettis has said now on multiple occasions that Sergio got an incredible deal at Bellator. Like, he said making way more than Anthony ever made in the UFC. So big ups to him. Bellator opened up the paycheck to him because, I mean, he was like a very highly ranked bantamweight in the UFC. Like, he wasn't on a slide or anything. He was doing really well at the end.
No. I was talking to a friend of the show, Keith, today at my work, and the interesting thing about this fight, to me at least, is the size difference between the two men. Sergio he's grown into his body for sure. I mean, that's the reason why he's a flyweight. I don't believe Bellator has flyweight. But also, Sergio's come into his body. He's bulking up a little bit. And, you have Archuleta, who up to 2 fights ago was a featherweight. So now you have a featherweight and a flyweight meeting in the middle at 35. And I really think that the size of Archuleta and his wrestling ability is going to play a huge role in the fight. I really do. I think that the beat Pettis blueprint is really the same for both men.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be really fun. I mean, I was again telling Keith, like, this is my big card of the weekend. With how the fight night on Saturday is falling apart. This is the one I'm excited about. 258. It's a really good card, top to bottom.
I unfortunately cannot back you in that statement, good sir. For 2 very good reasons. One, as we're about to discuss, in the tragedy. That's a good one. Tragedy of the co-main event falling apart for Bellator, but also, I actually think that UFC in their scrambling has scraped together a fairly decent main card on Saturday out of all things considered. But sticking with Bellator, god damn it, man, we've been this whole light heavyweight tournament, right? We're rolling along. This is the one. This is the crown jewel we're all waiting for, right? We're all waiting to get to this point. We go through the first 3 rounds. The first 3 rounds are kind of lackluster. They go as they were expected to go. But this was the one we were waiting for. This was going to bring it all home. And then we lose it a week out. Now, it's been salvaged a bit because Anthony Johnson is absolutely shredded. And just the things that he's able to do with his weight are just outrageous to me. Like, effortlessly putting on and losing weight. Just, it seems like weeks, just craziness. But he did a really good interview with Luke Thomas and BC this morning that I watched. That got me, I'm excited. I have my concerns with the history of tournaments and outsiders coming in and then throwing the wrench into the whole system. But I really still think that a nice big tune-up Anthony Johnson win could still be something dope that could save this whole thing. But I have to admit, just like, the deflation was super hard when that fight got taken out, because that was it. That was the most excited I've been for a Bellator card like all year. That fight, that was the one.
Yeah, and I of course I agree. I mean, I would rather see the fight than not see the fight. And it really sucks too because it's a thing where what does Yoel Romero do now? Like
He
just
can't
at
get in the
all?
tournament now. He's out of the
Not,
tournament, right?
dude. Fuck the tournament. He didn't get medically cleared
That
at the
eye.
same commission that runs the Mohegan Sun, aka Bellator MMA headquarters during
Yeah.
pandemic shows. So, like Yoel, until pandemic is over and Bellator's traveling again, and maybe not even then, because commissions look at what other, if you've
Yeah.
been denied,
Right.
another commission's going to look at that. So we may have not only lost Anthony Johnson versus Yoel Romero, we may have just lost Romero altogether.
Yes, which honestly, like, man, if it's your eye, the thing in question is your eye. So if you're telling me that a doctor is like, yo, dog, your eye is in a state where I cannot advise you to go out and get punched in it by Anthony Rumble Johnson, then yeah, I don't want to see that. If there's a chance,
Do you think the doctor was just like,
dude, like
who are you fighting?
who is it again?
Oh no, no,
Yeah,
no, no, he
dude.
can't. No, 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 not
Dude,
Anthony.
but if you're telling me there's a chance that Rumble can go out there and blow a hole in this man's face on live television, then we don't need to see that for the sport. It's not necessary. If like 44-year-old Yoel is in a state where his body can't compete anymore, then we're done. That's fine. Honestly, this is going to tie very well into a segment. We'll do it at the end of the show, but we need to discuss Chris Weidman. I'm fired up on Chris Weidman. We'll do a nice little 10-minute segment on him at the end of the show. But those two kind of link together and tie together very well.
Okay, yeah. So just to mention some stuff that is on the rest of the card. Of course, we have, as we were just talking about, Anthony Johnson taking on Jose Augusto Azevedo. He is a late replacement. 1 week notice. He is 7-2. He has stoppage wins in his last 3 wins. He is relatively young. He's 29 to Anthony Rumble Johnson's 37. It's uphill. It's uphill. He called it on media day. He said it would be the upset of the century, and I agree. I agree. Then we have Patricky Pitbull, the other Pitbull brother, the bigger Pitbull brother, and the one that we last saw at Risen 20 in 2019, and not since then. Taking on Peter Queally. This has been a fight that was booked in October, got canceled due to COVID, and they're finally going to show down. Apparently, there is a rivalry between SBG and the Pitbull brothers gym. I had no idea. I didn't even know when those two camps would have like crossed paths before, but whatever. And then Michael Page takes on Derek Anderson. And then the top 3 prelim fights are actually pretty good. We have Ralphion Stotts and Josh Hill, more or less going to be the top contender at bantamweight. Then we have Lorenz Larkin taking on Rafael Calvallo, which is Calvallo is the former
banger.
Yes. Oh yeah. Rafael Calvallo, interestingly enough, was set to make his LFA debut before he got called back to Bellator for a late replacement bout. Yep. So, a little interesting wrinkle there. And also, Larkin, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but this is a one-off middleweight bout. This is the first time Larkin has fought at middleweight since 2014. And even though it's not because it was a late notice fight that they bumped the weight up. Like he was always going to do a middleweight bout, but then when he was asked, like, is this your new weight again? Or are you going back, rather, because he started at fucking heavyweight.
Yeah.
He was like, nope, this is a one-off. It's like, okay, all right, I guess.
Bellator does some weird stuff. Remember, they had they alternated for 4 fights with Machida. They had him go middleweight, light heavyweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and he was like in his 40s at that point.
No respect. They're like,
seriously,
can you do it? Yeah, and then also on the card, Patchy Mix, former bantamweight challenger, takes on Albert Morales. That's also going to be a banger. So, and also the prelims are all available on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah. And if you have a VPN, set your shit to Canada, and you can watch the whole thing on YouTube.
Dope.
All right, moving on. What would you like to talk about, Brad? We've got UFC in the news. We have an upcoming card. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, let's run down this card for this weekend. Honestly, it's been a scrapped kind of disaster, but the and the prelims, suck, as all prelims always suck. But the main card, those top 5 fights are decent. I know that the Wikipedia page most recently had it up accurately because there's been a lot of this week up until just yesterday, like the UFC site and Tapology just didn't have cards because they were kind of putting this thing all together. But for those that may not be aware, the main event was originally Dillashaw versus Sandhagen. That fell apart. And also your co-main event fell apart, which was Diego Sanchez versus Donald Cerrone, which led to this weird shuffle where the UFC had multiple fights on the card involving people that have their last fights were in main events, but instead they opted to pull Michelle Waterson out of thin air and then have her fight at a weight class higher than her normal weight class against Marina Rodriguez in a 5-round main event on like 7 days notice when Michelle Waterson was not supposed to be fighting on this card at all. Strange, weird decision, but whatever. That's fine for the main event. They ended up giving Alex Morono to Cerrone. He also strolled in late notice in his last fight before this against Pettis.
Yep.
And then there's some cool ones down there further as well that we can discuss, but it's a fairly decent card.
Yeah, I don't dislike the quality of the card, but I will say it's one of those where if you named any fight on this card and asked me if it was on the main card or a prelim bout, I genuinely would not be able to tell you.
No, the single word I'd use to describe this card would be skippable.
It is, and I called it Riff Raff Rumble in the video description, not because of the fighters. It's because like this just really does seem like a card full of fighters the UFC has no fucking clue what to do with.
Yes. So
they
for
just
instance,
like top to bottom, like guys who have like ill-defined roles,
yes.
girls who are just like, I mean, they're just down to throw down, so they throw them on there. Amanda Ribas, Angela Hill, that's a really great fight. I'm excited for that. Diego Ferreira taking on Gregor Gillespie. Excellent. I love that fight. Maurice Green and Marcos Rogério de Lima. That's about between 2 guys who I had no idea were still in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Magny Neal. That's fantastic.
That was the one. Both of those guys fought in main events in their last fight, and they're not even third fight down. It's kind of wild. But in comparing, we didn't get to discuss last week's card. Last week's card's very similar to this one. I described it as skippable because most of the card was uneventful and the stakes is what we were looking for, but the main event had stakes. That Jiri versus Reyes fight had stakes, and that was something that you had to tune in for, and it was big, and you had to see it. The rest of the card you could have skipped. This one coming up, there is nothing. There's nothing with stakes. There's no main event, no co-main event. There's nothing that has big stakes. So it's truly and utterly skippable from top to bottom if you are so inclined. If anything, let's talk about that goddamn Jiri fight real quick, because there are a couple fights we haven't got to discuss. We missed the 261 discussion, but man, that Jiri and Dominic Reyes thing, man. Real quick, we'll dip into this. I just want to actually start with Dominic Reyes on this side, who is now in a brutally rough position where he went from being on top of the world, this uncrowned king, right, to now just down in the dirt. I think a very unfortunate thing that's happened for him is it's now been exposed that if you fight Dominic Reyes in the way that John Jones did, where you fight him at distance, you make it a very technical fight. It's a very clean fight, right? It's very, we're going for points here. We're going to be technical. We're going to outsmart each other. Those are the fights that Dominic Reyes can do very well. He has a very good technical mind for those sort of things. But it's now been shown, if you don't play that, if you get in there and say, yo, dog, we're not going to decision. I'm going to go at you and I'm going to smash you. Dominic Reyes folds. And I'm not saying that he just rolls over and dies or anything. Like he put up a really good performance in this fight, especially. Had Jiri basically unconscious at one point. Mm-hmm. But I see this being a problem for him now going forward. I don't foresee Dominic Reyes being able to get over the light heavyweight hump now that there's kind of, it's out there that, like, man, if you really put it on this dude, like you can break him.
Yeah, man, it's rough. It's rough. And I just wanted to quell some stuff right off the bat. Like there's some people talking real reckless about Dominic Reyes right now. Like he was never that good. All this, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
He has bad attitude. He thought he won. A lot of people thought he won against Jones. A lot, like a bunch of people thought he won against Jones. And I'm not saying that he did or didn't. Well, he definitely did not on paper. But, it could be that people found a blueprint on him. It could be that was his career peak. You know what I mean? Like, to have possibly beaten the greatest of all time, that might have been, we may have seen you on your best night ever. You know what I mean? Like, it
is true.
It's not that he's fallen off or like he was never that good or whatever. It's just like, hey man, he goes up against, like, he has fought. So he's fought twice since Jones.
Yeah.
He's fought the current champion. Yeah. And a guy who's going to fight the current champion.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's a great transition over to Jiri, because Jiri rolls into this division as something that it was missing before, which is a destroyer. We haven't had a destroyer at light heavyweight, honestly, probably since Thiago Santos, who is nothing like his former self at this point.
Dude, not like this though.
Yeah,
not like that. Like he's long.
Jiri is a true destroyer, like a guy that rolls into this division and is like, yo, all this like going to decision stuff, we're not doing that. I'm going in here and going like, I'm going pedal to the metal, and like I may get hit and gas out or get knocked out, but I'm gonna throw everything at you, bro.
I'm looking at Jiri's record right now, and they legit had Jiri fighting Kazuyuki Fujita in 2016.
Yeah.
Kazuyuki Fujita is like the lone dude that, like, in Fedor's Pride days wobbled him.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever seen that clip. So Kazuyuki Fujita was old as shit in 2016. Jiri knocked him the hell out in the first round. Yeah. Here's his current run. His last loss was a knockout punch at 5 minutes, 9 seconds in round 1 in 2015 for Muhammad Lawal. He then stopped Fujita, beat a man by by the name of Mark Tanios, knocked a man out, knocked a man out, knocked a man out, knocked a man out, knocked a man out. He knocked that guy out. He knocked that guy out as well. Fabio Maldonado knocked out CB Dalloway, knocked out Volkan Oezdemir. Oh, sorry, he avenged his loss to Muhammad Lawal,
Yeah.
and then knocked out. Dude, he is just killing people. It
Yes.
is really awesome to watch. It's really cool when you get a little bit of Risen hype going because it's just so few people come out of JMMA and actually are able to show out on the world stage. It's cool that we have that, even though
Yes.
it had to come in the form of a Polish guy, or sorry, a Czech guy.
And it's
So,
weird, like all these circumstances around this thing are weird with him. He was offered a UFC contract some years ago. He turned it down so that he could go and get the build and get more experience, which obviously was the right decision.
yep.
After all of those fights, all of this experience that he's accumulated, he is just now 28. It's outrageous. He's just now 28. Dominic Reyes is like 32 or something. Like, it's nuts. Like, this dude's ceiling is just through the roof. Like, look at, like, okay, so now he's coming to the UFC, got 2 wins, 2 fights, 2 wins, 2 insane knockouts. He's now the number 2 guy in the division. The only roof above him is Glover Teixeira, a 43-year-old, 41-year-old, whatever he is, and Jan Blachowicz, who is a 39-year-old. So,
I mean, we keep saying that about both of those men, but they just keep winning.
They could totally beat him, but I'm saying this would totally be a Stipe and Francis situation where they may beat him now, but he's not going anywhere. He's 28. Those 2 guys will be gone in the next couple of years. We could see Jiri in the UFC for another decade.
Yeah, this is like a Mousasi situation, man.
Yes,
it really is. Do you remember when he was in Dream?
Yes, yeah.
And we were just like, damn, he has like 30 fights. How old is he? 26.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's wild. It's just, stuff is nuts.
I'm excited. I was excited for him to make his debut. After, the only time I had seen him fight live was for that Risen show. And he got that head kick KO over CB Dalloway.
Mm-hmm.
It was not. No, it wasn't a head kick. No, it was a left hook.
It was brutal. I remember that.
It was brutal, and I was just like, oh, okay, this guy's got to fight in UFC. And then, a couple days later, he was signed. I'm just excited. I found an old piece I was writing for the website about John Jones moving away from the weight class. And I never ended up publishing it, but a lot of what I was talking about in there was exactly what we're experiencing right now, which is like a light heavyweight renaissance, where the most marketable weight class, because a lot of people forget, especially like post-Conor fans and, anything, post-Conor fans.
Yes.
Really. And there's an era before that I just...
But generally, the Conor fans came generally in 2016.
Yeah.
So post-Conor fans are 2016 and on. John began dominating the light heavyweight division in 2011. But, dude, from 2011 everything before that, light heavyweight is the glory division. That
was the glory division. You had all the speed and you had all the power.
Yes.
It was unreal. It was the money division, was light heavyweight. Yes. And we're getting to this point. Yeah.
This is perfect because people have been talking about this shit this week that's been pissing me off. They're like, all right, now there's all these good competitors at light heavyweight. Let's get John Jones back down there and see him against all these competitive guys. And I'm like, what are you all talking about? The whole reason that we're getting all of these cool and fun things happening at light heavyweight is because John Jones isn't there anymore. He did it for 10 years. He doesn't need to be in that division anymore. All these nice things that we're finally getting to experience at light heavyweight are a consequence of his chokehold on the division being released and all the rest of the prisoners being free to live their life. And just like, quit bringing that up, people. It's ridiculous.
I think that's so disrespectful. That's so disrespectful. John Jones has spent the last like half a year trying to pack on muscle for heavyweight, and people are just like, "Hey, John, actually,
Just like lose all that.
we
Go
need you to
back.
we need you to eat a little less protein, a few more salads, and
It's
lift a little bit
ridiculous.
wider because we need you back down here." That no, man, just let him go. It's like, do you remember when Jones got suspended and for like there was like a very short, I mean, it was like DC's whole title reign. We were just like gifted an alternate history, and it
Yes.
was awesome. It was
Yes.
great. It was like, oh man, we got to see a glimpse of what, yeah, a non dominated light heavyweight division looked like, and it
Yeah.
was awesome.
It was great.
You had the rise of Volkan Oezdemir. You had Anthony Johnson in there.
Rumble got in there twice.
Prime DC. Like, yeah, man, just let Jones. It's done. He did it. It
Right.
doesn't matter. Like, by the time I would really, the only person I want to see Jones fight against at this point is like, can you challenge his legacy?
And like,
And by the time a light heavyweight can do what he's done, John Jones is going to be like a 50-year-old man.
yes. And the
So,
thing to me is like we've turned, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, because a lot of people don't, we have turned the page from John Jones being a light heavyweight to a heavyweight. He may not have actually fought at heavyweight yet, but for all intensive purposes, the human body that is John Jones is now a heavyweight. He is not a light heavyweight anymore. And he's just spent all this time becoming a 260-pound heavyweight. So that's where we are. We turned the page to that. We're at the heavyweight chapter now. I'm very excited about it. Lots of cool things going forward. Okay, do you want to get into this? You want to get into this Chris Weidman rant that I got, or you got something else you want to pop off on?
I have no rants. Actually, I do real quick. It's less a rant and more a function of my computer needing life, needing electricity.
We all need a little life.
I forgot that I didn't have it plugged in, which actually is like a credit to my laptop battery that we've lasted almost an entire show.
That is relatively impressive
my
for a laptop.
Yeah, before my laptop was like, I need a little power here.
Chugging along.
All right. Let's talk about Weidman, man. One of the least lucky men in all of MMA. And you can challenge me on that, but I'll take you way back on how unlucky this young man has been throughout his career.
Yes, we and you both know the long history of Chris Weidman, and I absolutely 100% agree with you. The unluckiest man in MMA history.
MMA, yeah.
Let's get into this thing. So for like I said, we didn't really recap 261 at UFC 261. Chris Weidman walks in there, throws a single strike. It is just the hardest goddamn leg kick he's ever thrown. And just, man, Chael really he nailed it. He was like, it was off by an inch. If he would have went up or down by an inch, but he hit it right on Uriah's kneecap. So, obliterates his leg in the exact same, essentially, manner that Anderson Silva had done so on his leg many years ago. Just, I mean, if there is no other, I've never in my life been like, man, maybe like karma exists, or like maybe there's some weird thing like that.
No,
but just the odds of only the two of them, it happening to those two after all these years, after all the prolific leg kickers like Edson Barboza, his frail tiny legs. It's crazy.
No, it's not. It's not karma. It's like when Anderson broke his leg, he was his last action. He transferred this like
evil
little like spirit bomb into the leg of Weidman, and he just was like, "Yep, no, one day."
So, okay, so first I want to start with the to me glaring differences in Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva, how this happens to them. So let's back up. This happens to Anderson Silva It happens in the main event. The whole universe sees it. And then partly because of the language barrier, partly because this was back when social media wasn't really a thing, he goes away. And then we don't see or hear from Anderson for like a year. And the lasting memory that we have of him is him screaming in agony and pain being carried out of the arena. Right?
Yeah, he was quiet for a long, long time.
Yes. And we just had to like sit with that and like really resonate with that for a really long time. So immediately, this is different because that very night, right? We get the Instagrams fired up. Chris Weidman's on there. He's alive. He's lucid. He's talking through the camera, right? And all throughout the past week, 2 weeks, as this has been unfolding, he's been putting out daily updates. You get on your Instagram, you see him. He's alive. He's there, right? He's showing off his leg. It's insanely brutal, but he is still intact, right? Okay, so
yeah.
So then, right, I soften my edges on the situation a little bit, right? Because I'm like, okay, this is a little bit different. I can interact with you. I see you right there. It's maybe not as horrible, right? So then, about 2 days ago, my man does an interview, about 45-minute interview with one Ariel Helwani. Now, if you all have not seen it, I recommend every single MMA fan in existence go and watch that brutally heartbreaking interview. Now, Coby, did you happen to catch this interview in its entirety?
You know what? I went to watch that, but instead I found his personal YouTube channel.
Yes,
where he's doing that. So I watched that.
Yes,
I did not happen to watch the Ariel interview.
Okay,
but I watched his.
That is another thing. He started up his own personal YouTube channel to try and show some videos. Keep the fan interaction up as he goes through this process to kind of ease things a little bit. But there is it's a brutal interview all throughout, right? Obviously, he's recapping his career and his life, and he just can't believe that this happened to him. He's crying, they're talking about their kids and the situation and everything. It's very, very brutal. But there's one in particular part that I want to narrow in on, right? So Chris Weidman reveals, well, first he says he's like, I've been very injury prone over my life. Everyone's known this. This is my 24th surgery. It's 24th surgery. And he's not even 40 years old yet. His body has just been brutalized by the sport. And he lists all the surgeries, right? He's like 3 surgeries on my knee, 2 surgeries on my elbow, surgery on my hand, right? So he's going through them all. This man, his body's been in a lot of damage. So boom, right? A lot of surgeries. He reveals, he's never told this to the world before, that in the Kelvin Gastelum fight, he punches Kelvin Gastelum on the head and he breaks his thumb. Now, we'll recall that after that fight, because of that thumb injury, he was out for about a year and a half. But he didn't necessarily divulge the full details of what had happened in that situation. So what happened was he had tore the ligament or tendon or whatever it was that brought blood to that bone in his thumb. And so they did the surgery. They're like, all right, good. It's fixed. You're all good. As time goes along, they realize that blood is not getting back to that bone in his thumb, and that bone dies. And they go, oh, man, you got a bad problem with your body, and it didn't get blood back to that bone, so that's unfortunate. So they had to have this whole thing where they took that bone out. They took a bone out of his hip, and they put a hip bone in his thumb to fix it. So now he shows his thumb it's stuck, right, and doesn't move, right? It's stuck in like a certain situation. But he's like, this is how they were able to fix it. So, bring it up to current date, he reveals that in talking to the doctors and surgeons about his leg and his surgery that he's just had on his leg, they reveal that because of the situation that he had with his hand, there is a chance that the blood will not return to the bone in his leg and the bone in his leg will die. And they told him that if that happens, the only answer is to amputate his leg. So I just want the whole MMA community right here to sit and acknowledge and think for a second that there is 100%, a doctor has said, there's evidence proven that there is a chance that Chris Weidman could lose his entire leg off of this. And not 10 minutes later in that interview, Chris Weidman says, yes, without a doubt, 100%, I'm coming back to fight in the UFC. I can't go out like that. And I'm like, are we serious, guys? Are you kidding me? Chris Weidman, you've been brutally knocked out like 7 times in a row. And now you have sustained a horrible injury. He said of all the surgeries he's had, remember he had that really bad neck surgery too, where they had to go into the front of his neck. He was like, this leg has been far, far more painful and excruciating than anything he's ever been through, and it's going to be way worse than anything he's ever had to experience before. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you coming back for? What is there to prove? What are we doing? And then everybody's like, yep, we know Chris is he's a warrior, and he's just not going to want to go out like that. He doesn't want people to be the lasting memory of him. Bro, we will forget about that shit so fast. There's zero part of me that wants to see him come back. What is he going to do when he comes back? Who's he going to fight? What are you just going to fight some guy? And then what? Maybe he gets a win, and then what do we do? And then he's like, I'm going to make a run towards the belt. This is craziness. It's all craziness.
It makes it's well, I mean, it's just like the Spencer Fisher piece, man. Yeah. It's just like Diego Sanchez. No one makes it out of the game unscathed, either mentally, monetarily, or physically. You don't make it out of a career of combat sports without some scars. And Weidman has the potential to lose his leg. So, yeah, man, it's the same conversation we had about Anderson Silva at the time, which is, what are you doing? Why are you even coming back to fight Nick Diaz? For what?
Look at after Anderson came back. He never did anything of substance again. He only further tarnished his career with like 7 bad losses and performances. Yeah. And he's almost the exact same age when it happened to him that Chris Weidman is now. Chris Weidman's 38, I think, and he's going to turn 39 later this year. We're looking at him. He's obviously not going to be back for at least a year. We're talking months before he's even able to walk again. His bone literally poked out of his leg through his shin, out through the back of his. I'm like, I can't believe that, like,
damn it, Brad, he's coming back. All right,
dude, this MMA community and being like, it drives me crazy. The people that are closest to him. I love Wonder Boy to death. Wonder Boy was in his corner that night. Wonder Boy was in the ambulance, rode with him to the hospital. Wonder Boy has his own YouTube channel. It's very successful. He did an episode afterwards, right, where he talked about that experience. And what the hell did he say? He said, man, I know Chris. He'll be back. Don't worry, everybody. Chris will be back, and he's going to come back and put on good shows for all you guys. And I'm like, don't you ever say that to him again. You are in his – don't ever say that. I hope to God someone, your wife, someone around you is being like, do we really need to do this again? Do we really need to send you out there again to collect? You probably have more – I guarantee you, Chris Weidman has more surgeries than he does professional MMA fights. He definitely doesn't have 24 MMA fights.
Listen, if you're Chris Weidman's manager right now, you are talking to the UFC, you are talking to ESPN, you are speaking to Fox News and CBS Sports. You're like, hey, listen, former champion and MMA veteran Chris Weidman can't move around for a while. So how would you like a former world champion and the man to defeat Anderson Silva as one of your pundits? You really got to get him out there. You got to get him on the desk. He's done desk stuff in the past. Dude. If you're the UFC, this is how you get him out. Get him on the desk. Get him as soon as he can leave his house reliably, right?
Yeah.
Get him on the desk and get him on the desk often. That way, when it comes time to like a Daniel Cormier type thing, do you want to get hit in the head, or do you want to just keep doing broadcasting? Because now you've had practice, you're used to it. Yeah, dude, man.
That's so brilliant. That's so brilliant. I hadn't thought about that at all, but that is goddamn brilliant. He's perfect for that. He's absolutely perfect.
This is how you transition a guy like Chris Weidman out.
Yeah,
So
that's perfect. Also, you know what? You just jogged my memory. One more quick micro segment. We'll be real fast about this at the end. Something me and you have not discussed at all, but I found very interesting at last week's UFC card, the Jiri versus Reyes card. So a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago at this point, the UFC revealed that they had released Tyron Woodley, former champion, is no longer UFC fighter. Well, for what, maybe you can correct me, what I believe is the first time in UFC history, last weekend on the pre-fight show and the post-fight show, there's Tyron Woodley sitting up there as a UFC broadcaster. And they even make note of it right out of the gate. They say, they're like, Woodley, welcome back. We haven't seen you up here on the broadcast table since 2019. So Woodley, it would appear to me, after having exited the UFC as a fighter, has now locked himself in as a commentator for, or not a commentator, but as a desk analyst for them, which
he does a really great job too.
He does, and I found that very
really
interesting because this is the first time that they've cut ties with a fighter, but then immediately pick them up, to kind of do the show for them. Because I think that Woodley's going to keep fighting, right? I think.
I don't predict that he does.
Really,
to be perfectly honest, I don't think that. I think that because, again, man, people talk a lot of trash about the UFC, and I think a lot of it is warranted, especially in the area of pay. But they are really good in general about, like, dude, Tyron Woodley is. Granted, there haven't been a ton of welterweight champions, but he is definitely one of the best. He defended.
He's very well known.
He's well known. Does he outrank Matt Hughes? I'm not sure, actually. If you look back, I'm not sure, but it's very close, which is significant. Obviously the number one spot at the moment is between GSP and Usman. So where Woodley ranks is kind of up to you. But he's good at the analyst work.
Yeah.
And he doesn't plagiarize, so he gets to stay around. Unlike Florian, man. I wish Florian would stay. Yeah, he got done. He did, but he didn't.
But it sucks, man, because I'm like, dude, if you remember, there have been some people that have like really flubbed up bad when they, in the early stages, when they just kind of floated out a fighter every once in a while. I remember Tony Ferguson went on there and made a fool of himself. Mm-hmm. They had Tony at the desk and he botched it. They never invited him back. They've had a couple fighters that have not been good at it. But yeah, he really got a raw deal. They never brought Ken Flo back.
No, well, like I said, man, like, it was pretty egregious. And I think that it's one of those things where it's like, bro, not only did you plagiarize, but like, you're supposed to be an expert in what you're talking about.
That's true.
Like you shouldn't have to. We hired you to be an expert,
right?
And you're out here plagiarizing other dudes.
And it's just like this, yeah, it's such a thing where they're like, if they see you as the expert, literally just whatever you say out of your mouth will be gospel because they'll be like, the expert said it. So
you're the expert. You are brought on as the guy who knows what he's talking about, and then it's found out that you're stealing your ideas.
Yeah, okay.
Hey,
I haven't really thought about this in a lot of years.
I'll say this: he does a really great job on the desk, and I miss him at the UFC.
Yes, because Kenny Florian was really locked in those early ESPN days.
Him and Brian Stan.
Yeah, and Brian Stan. God, man, miss Brian Stan to death, dude. He was so good.
Really great.
Yeah,
really, really good.
Man, that was a good wrap up.
Yeah. I was watching some old fights the other day, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." No, I was watching. It wasn't the other day. It was like a month ago. It was Ashley Yoder and Angela Hill, their first fight. And Brian Stan was still on commentary at that time. And I was like, God damn, dude, this guy was so good at this.
Incredible.
He's walking people through so well. And yeah, you had Anik and the gang. And
Dude,
yeah,
speaking of old ones, did you happen? Yeah, I know you're not a religious Chael watcher, but did you happen to catch Chael on his YouTube channel? Did an interview with one arch nemesis, Anderson Silva, this week, and it was
I saw it.
man, just something to see because it was pure Chael, no character Chael. It was just the guy, he's just like the sweetest, softest. Like the guy Chael is just the polar opposite of character Chael. He's just like
the
the
gangster of West Lynn
just the guy
like
Chael when he's like interviewing people and stuff. He's like, he's just like just like a goofy little guy. But that interview with Anderson was it was so great. It's so weird because we've seen a lot of these over the years, like those people from that generation that used to just beef real hard, like the Rashad and Rampage, right? They just like hate each other, but then like some years go by and they become boys and they realize that they're just friends all along. Or like Rashad and Jones, I know, are back to being cool again. But yeah, that was kind of dope seeing Anderson.
My favorite was did you see Rockhold and Bisping do a bro hug?
That was another one that
was the one that one
I never thought we'd see that.
Legitimately blew my mind when I saw that video. I was like, whoa.
Dude, Bisping with almost every person that he fought, because when Bisping fought, he was such a dickhead, right? He would always just be like really antagonistic with everyone. But then like, now he's old and retired and he's just like an analyst guy. And he's still like really confrontational with people, but like he's also just like kind of like goofy and like can goof around. Even him and Chael, right? Him and Chael had that really brutal fight with each other, and they they get on there and goof around with each other.
Dude, I still to this day do not think Chael won that fight. I watched it. I legit watched that one the other day.
I was like, when Chael did that interview with Ariel afterwards, and he was not character Chael at all. He was real life Chael, and he was like, that dude just hit me so hard. If he would have just followed up, I would have been dead. He doesn't even realize how hard he just hit me. Like that real life Chael, the guy Chael was like, man, I barely made it through that one.
That's who you got after every fight. To a certain extent, you got more of him. His interview after he fought Nate Marquardt, and
he has like so likable.
He had the thing tied around his head because he had like this giant gash. Yeah, man. Yeah, he did some awesome interviews. You got the highs and you got the lows. But yeah, thinking about that, this is a little off topic.
Yeah, we're rambling at this point. It's whatever.
Yeah, it's fine. That's a lost fight for me. Is middleweight at Rashad Evans versus Michael Bisping. I think would have been a really, really great fight. And I want to go through, and I would love to do this for the channel. Do a list of lost fights. That would be interesting to look back on, because there's some like ones that like immediately come to the top of my head, like Overeem Fedor in the Strikeforce Grand Prix. You have like Rampage versus Couture.
Oh man!
Because they just missed each other.
I've never even considered that one.
They literally just missed each other.
Dude, here's one for me from that era. I always felt like we hardly got any Forrest Griffin. I felt like Forrest Griffin like blew onto the scene, right? He won the belt. He lost it immediately. He had a couple fights afterwards, and then he just was gone. And I was always just like, man, I felt like Forrest could have had like some really dope fights with a lot of people from that era.
Yeah, man. Him and that was the thing. The winner of Evans Liddell was going to fight Forrest.
Dude, Chuck Forrest.
Chuck Forrest could have had. It was one fight away from happening. It was one fight away. So we almost got that one. Rich Franklin is in a few of them. Rich Franklin, Michael Bisping was one that I always thought would be really, really great.
Huh. That's strange that we didn't get that one.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because we ended up getting Forrest Griffin versus Rich Franklin.
Twice, didn't we? Or was it just the once? It was at 126. It was at 126.
Yeah, it was just the once, and it was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't great. I remember Forrest was like okay, you're not a light heavyweight. That
Yep.
was like the
Yep.
theme of the fight was like Rich Franklin's not a light heavyweight.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there was some really again that used to be like the marquee division. So there were all these fights that we never quite got. But
Yeah, dude. Also, real quick, just rolling a little bit in a different side direction, but sticking with Rashad. I love her. I love Rashad. I love Chael. I love all these characters from that generation because love them or hate them, right? They're all basically, just been flushed into retirement recently or are going into it soon. And they're entering these next phases of their careers. And everyone's kind of doing something a little bit different. But Rashad, especially, man, Rashad is like kind of taken these fighters under his wing, right? And like first with John, right? He back in the day brings John up. This little, he sees the potential in this kid, right? Brings him up to, mentor him into being this beast, right? Then he does it again with Usman. If you've ever seen that old interview with Usman talking about Rashad is the entire reason that Usman does MMA. Usman had Rashad had to force Usman into doing MMA at all. Like Usman had no intentions of doing this. We get the glory of Usman as welterweight champion solely because of Rashad Evans. And it's just great because Rashad has this experience of somebody that has been there, made it to the top of the mountain, lost it all, also made a bunch of money, made bad decisions and lost a lot of that money, and then now has also like he hit a weird stretch at the end of his career where he kind of lost his fire and didn't really know how to get it back. And I just feel like he went through all of the motions. And now as this mentor, right, he can go to Usman and be like, yo, dog, here's the things that I messed up. Don't do this, right? Like this is something that I did. Don't do that. And he can mold these dudes into being like just like better versions of him. And now Usman's turning around and doing it to Francis, right? Like being like, yo, Francis, dog, we boys, I know you ain't got no ground game, son. I got you. This is what I do. I'm gonna train you in this
just
ground game stuff.
That ground game's trash, friend.
And bro, I got you. And it's just like beautiful. I love this shit. Like that last generation, like this is like the movie thing, right? Where like the old Harrison Ford, we bring back old Han Solo to hand off his little blaster to the next young generation. And it's usually horrible in movies and badly done, but they're really, Rashad especially is really killing it. And even guys like, Matt Serra and them, right? Like he's the whole reason that we have Chris Weidman, so.
Yeah. Hey, can I just blow your mind real quick?
Do it, blow it.
So Gegard Mousasi, I brought up when he was fighting in Dream, right? How old he was. So I'm just gonna go back. So do you remember when he fought Keith Jardine in Strikeforce?
Absolutely.
Do you know how old he was? And what was his record?
I certainly couldn't tell you his record, but I'm going to go with he was 27.
He was 25.
Oof.
And he was 33-1.
Oh my God.
He had 34 fights by the time he was 25.
I certainly don't remember his record being that elite.
Bro,
that is crazy.
To this point in his career, he lost to some guy, Petrus. Okay, he's not even. Yeah, forget about him. He's not who you need to think about. But he lost to Akihiro Gono, Muhammad Lawal, and for some reason they're counting his exhibition bout against Fedor. No, that's it. So he lost to some dude, I can't pronounce his name, Akihiro Gono and Muhammad Lawal. Those were his 3 losses heading into the Keith Jardine fight.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has only lost, Jesus Christ, dude. And in that time, he has only lost to Machida, Jacare, Uriah Hall, and Rafael Lovato Jr.
Yeah.
He's currently 46-7-2 and he's 35.
Insane. It's insane, and he couldn't care less. He's just the most lackadaisical person.
He has 55 fights, and he's not even 40.
Crazy. He's gonna be like Olynyk.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the boa constrictor, dude. He's just rolling up on the, corners and back alleys and just throwing down, and padding his record,
choking people out.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna circle all the way back to the card, but I don't have much to say about the rest of the card.
Nah, I think we did it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this: Ion Kutalaba and Dustin Jacoby. I was okay with the draw. I actually liked a draw.
Yeah, it was fine. It did well for my money, so it's all good.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, that's the show. Thank you for watching. And as always, this is Sparring Partners Podcast, an MMA podcast. If you enjoyed your time here, please like, subscribe, and maybe hit that little bell. I've heard that's good. But at the very least, just like and subscribe. The numbers going up helps our self-esteems go up.
That's true.
Is that healthy? Is that healthy? I don't know. But all I know is I need a higher number. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week. And that's that.
That's it. Bye.
See ya. Bye.